Good evening, everyone. I welcome you all to today's session, wherein we are going to discuss the LRDI section of CAT 23 slot 1. So, just like the yesterday, we covered CAT 24 slot 2 paper, we solved it together. And in that paper, we saw that we could attempt around 12 to 15 questions, right? We were able to, right? But on a bad day, that number would eventually drop, as I said. So somewhere around 10 to 12 was also good. I also shared the percentile numbers, right? The scores and percentiles. Now, in today's paper, I would be doing the same. So CAT 23 slot 1, let's go for this. Let's start by solving it. The purpose of having these sessions is so that all of us can understand what is the manner in which we should be attempting the questions. For example, of course, not all the questions are doable. Now, how can we identify a question which is doable and differentiate it from the one which is not doable? So how can we do that? And again, there is no simple metric for that, no simple rule for that. This will be developed over practice, right? Over practice and practice and practice of so many sets. So eventually you'll get to understand by looking at a set whether the set is actually doable or not. So that's what we'll try to put to practice today. So let's get started. I'll just turn on the timer for the test. So this is the set 1. Let's go through this. So it says the schematic diagram below shows 12 rectangular houses in a housing complex. House numbers are mentioned in the rectangles representing the houses. The houses are located in 6 columns, A through F. We'll just look at that. Yeah, this is the one. And 2 rows, row 1 and row 2, as we see here, row 1 and row 2. The houses are divided into 2 blocks, block XX and block YY. Now, as we see, this is the block XX and this is block YY. So overall 12 houses, 6 in each block. The diagram also shows 2 roads, one passing in front of the houses in row 2 and another between the 2 blocks. So these are the 2 roads that we are talking about. So 12 houses that we see here, column A, A1, A2, column B, B1, B2, so on, column F, F1, F2. Some of the houses are occupied, the remaining ones are vacant and are the only ones available for sale. The road adjacency value of a house is the number of its sites adjacent to a road. For example, the road adjacency value of C2, number of roads adjacent to it is 2. So for C2, it is 2. For F2, it's only 1. There's only 1 road adjacent to it, 1. And B1, he says 0. No road adjacent to B1. So this way, road adjacency value is calculated. The neighbor count of a house is number of houses of that, number of sites of that house adjacent to occupied houses in the same block. For example, E1 and C1 can have maximum possible neighbor count of 3 and 2 respectively. C1 and C2. So C1 can have maximum 2. He's talking about C1, C2. Sorry, E1 and C1. So E1 can have maximum 3 adjacent houses. Maximum, and similarly C1 can have only 2 adjacent houses, as we see here. The base price of a vacant house is 10 lakhs if the house does not have a parking space. So base price is 10 lakh if there is no parking space, and 12 lakh if there is a parking space. The quoted price in lakhs of rupees of a vacant house is calculated as base price. So quoted price is base price. It could be 10 or 12, depending on whether there is parking lot or not, plus 5 into road adjacency value, which we discussed here. Road adjacency means how many roads are adjacent to the given house, plus 3 into neighbor count. So neighbor count we understood here, how many houses adjacent to that given house are occupied. Okay, so we have this information here. Now the following information is also known. Point number 1, the maximum quoted price, the maximum QP value of a house in block XX, so out of the 6 houses, is 24 lakhs. Okay, so maximum QP is 24. So that means none of the other houses can have higher than this. The minimum quoted price of a house in YY, the other block, minimum he's saying, is 15 lakhs. Now this is in XX blocks and this is in YY. I'll just mention that also. It's 15 lakhs. So that means no other house can be lower than this. And one such house is in column E. So that means either E1 or E2 is that 15 lakh quoted house. That means one of them is empty. E1 or E2 is empty. Because only empty houses are on sale. Row 1 has 2 occupied houses, one in each block. So row 1 is this. So there is one occupied house here and one occupied house here. Both houses in column E are vacant. Okay, so these are vacant, we know. So these are vacant. There's so much information actually in this set. Each of column D and column F has at least one occupied house. So here and here there is at least one occupied. At least one. So it could be both occupied also. There is only one house with parking space in block YY. So only one house can have parking space here. Okay, so that means the remaining 5 will not have any parking space in YY. What we'll do is, already so much time has gone, so some 5 minutes is over. See, I have written down the necessary information. We'll just quickly go through the other sets also. Is there any question that we can directly answer? How many houses are vacant? No, I don't think so. Which of the following is definitely occupied? Maximum possible quoted price for vacant house in colony. No, probably there's only one house here. Which one could it be? It will take some time. Let's quickly go through the other set also. Faculty members in a management school can belong to one of the 4 departments: finance and accounting, marketing and strategy. See, during the test, of course, if I feel that a set is too long, might take a lot of time, I'll quit that set for time being. All right, I'll skip it. I'll come back to it if there is no other better set available. Right? Operations and cons and behavior and human resources. The numbers of faculty members in F&A, M&S, O&Q, and D&H. The numbers are 9, 7, 5, 3, all odd numbers, consecutive odd numbers. Professor P, Professor Q, Professor R, and Professor S, PQRS, are 4 members of the school's faculty who were candidates for the post of the dean of the school. Only one of the candidates was from O&Q. So from O&Q, there can be only one candidate out of the given 4. Only one candidate standing for election for this selection process. Every faculty member, including the 4 candidates, voted for the post. So overall, if you'll see, we have 8, 15, 24 faculty members. So all the 24 faculty members, including the 4 who are standing for the post, have voted. In each department, all the faculty members who were not candidates voted for the same candidate. So that means, suppose out of this 9 faculty members that we have in this department, there are, suppose, one person who is a candidate out of this 4 PQRS professors. So besides that one person, the remaining 8 are non-candidates, right? Non-candidates. They will all be voting for one person. That's what is given. They'll be voting for the same person. The rules for the election are given below. There cannot be more than 2 candidates from a single department. A candidate cannot vote for himself or herself. Faculty members cannot vote for a candidate from their own department. Okay. We know that there are 4 departments and 4 professors. So these 4 professors will be out of these 4 departments. And now he also says there cannot be more than 2. That means maximum I can have 2 professors coming from a single department. After the election, it was observed that Professor P received 3 votes. Okay, so just 3 votes. Professor Q received 14 votes. Professor R received 6. And S received 1 vote. Okay. Professor P voted for Professor R. Professor P voted for Professor R. So out of the 6 votes, one of the vote is of P, Professor P. There will be 5 other people, 5 the persons who have voted. Professor Q voted for Professor S. So there's only one vote that he received, and that was by Professor Q. Professor R for Professor Qureshi Q. So R voted for him. So that means besides R, there are 13 other votes that Q is still supposed to get. We will have to somehow allocate that. And Professor S voted for P. So out of the 3 votes, one of the votes is of S. So he's supposed to get 2 more votes. He's supposed to get 13 more, 5 more, and no more. That's it. Because there's only one vote, and that is already identified. That's it. This is the information that we have. Now, based on this information, what can be done? Now, this person is not supposed to get any more votes. That's it. That's the end of the voters list for S. So how many people have voted for S? That's the list. Let's think about R. Out of 6, already we have 1 vote by one of the candidates. It's already there. So that means 5 non-candidates must vote for R. And from one of the previous points here, we knew that every faculty member in each department, all the faculty members who were not candidates voted for the same candidate. So that means I need to have a department where I can have 5 non-candidate faculty members. Where can we have that? Now, this is not really possible because these 5, there's only one who is a professor, who is one of these candidates. So, for example, for R, if you look at it, the professor who has voted for him was P. So I need 5 more non-candidates. We can't get them here. Clearly not possible here. And here also, imagine, even if I have 2 candidate professors here, there will be 7 non-candidate professors. So if they come for R, if they'll be voting for R, there should be 7 people voting for R. So it's not possible here also. So the only possibility is M&S. So M&S, if I need 5 votes, non-candidates, I need 2 candidates here for sure. So there will be 2 candidates for sure here. We don't know what their names are, but 2 candidates for sure. And here, as we know, is only 1 candidate. And there's 1 more candidate who will either belong here or here. So the 5 non-candidate votes I'll get here. So it's M&S. So M&S 1, 2, M&S 5. So this way, all the 6 votes are done. So R and S are done so far. Now let's think about this S, this person. He should get 2 more votes. Where can he get 2 more votes? It's not possible here. It's not really possible here because there are 4 non-candidate votes here. It's only possible here. And hence can I say there should be 1 candidate who should come from here also. So all the 4 candidates are fixed. 2 from M&S and 1 from each of these. So the remaining 2 of B and H will come here. B and H 1, 2. It's also done. Now all the remaining will be voting for Q. How many remaining? 13 remaining. Where can I get that from? So there'll be 4 from here and all 9. So F and A 1 till F and A 9 people, and then O and Q 1. One second. O and Q 1, 2. There is 1 candidate. There's 1 candidate also here, right? O and Q 1 to O and Q 4. So 4 and 9, 13 and 1, 14 votes. This way we can have it. So all the 14 votes can be decided by like this. Okay, so we are done with this much, but we only understand one thing, that there are 2 professors who belong to M&S. And we wasted a lot of time here. Let's try to complete it. Let's try to finish off whatever we can. What else can we say here? Can we also decide which professor will come at what place? Let's think about that. So let's think about that. Q, R is voting for Q. Okay, R is voting for Q, and S is only getting 1 vote. Right? S is only getting 1 vote. P is getting 3 votes. That's not really. Let's leave it at this. We'll look at the other set also. The first 2 sets were skipped, and we have wasted around 12 minutes so far. A visa processing office accepts visa applications in 4 categories: US, UK, Schengen, in others. The applications are scheduled for processing in 20 15-minute slots from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. 15-minute slots, 9 to 9:15, 9:15 to 9:30, and so on. 10 applications are scheduled in each slot. So if I talk about 9 to 9:15, there are 10 applications. There are 10 counters in the office, 4 dedicated to US applications, 2 each for UK, Schengen, and others. So it's 2 each. Applicants are called in for processing sequentially on a first come first served basis whenever a counter gets freed for their category. The processing time for an application is the same within each category, but it may vary across the categories. Each US and UK application requires 10 minutes of processing time, depending on the number of applications in a category and the time required to process an application for that category. It is possible that an applicant for a slot may be processed later. On a particular day, this is also looking slightly complex. On a particular day, I, V, and N were scheduled for Schengen visa processing in that order. They had a 9:15 slot, but entered the VPO at 9:20. So there are 3 people who are coming for Schengen, and there are 3 people for that slot, 9:15 slot, 9:15 to 9:30 slot. When they entered the office, exactly 6 out of the 10 counters were either processing applications or had finished processing one and ready to start processing the next. We'll just skip this, looks a little difficult. This little mathematical, I think. Let's go for this. 5 restaurants coded R1 to R5 gave integer ratings to 5 gig workers, Ulas, UVW, X, and Y on a scale of 1 to 5. The means of the ratings given by R1, R2, R3, R4, and R5 were this. So if the means are this, we can also calculate the total rating given. So 3.4 into 5 will be what? 17. 2.2 into 5 will be 11. 3.8 into 5. 2.8 into 5. 3.4 into 5. The summary statistics of these ratings for the 5 workers is also given below. Ulas, the mean rating is 2.2. So can I say UVW, X, and Y? And the restaurants are R1, R2. So these restaurants are giving ratings to this 5 persons, right? So there will be a link between these 5 restaurants and these 5 persons. So what I'll also do is here for R1, I know the total sum, it's 17. So sum of all these cells should be 17. R2 is 11, this is 19, this is 14, this is 17. And the sum, if you look at it, 28, 47, 51, 61, 78 it is. And similarly, since we have the averages, we can also find out the sum. Ulas, it is 2.2 into 5, 11. Vasu, it is 3.8 into 5, which will be 19. 3.4 into 5, 3.6 into 5, and 2.6 into 5. Okay, I have these details. Also, one more thing that I notice here is we have median and modal ratings also given for each of them. So if I talk about Ullas, for example, if median is 2, there are 5 ratings that you'll get. So middle rating will be 2. We don't know about the others. Middle rating will be 2. Mode is also 2. So that means 2 should occur for maximum number of times. And range is 4. Range, by the way, is highest rating minus the lowest rating. I think, yeah, that is also defined here. Range of rating is defined as differentiating the maximum and minimum rating. So it's 4, it's 3. Range is 3 would mean the possibility could be we could have minimum of 1 and maximum of 4, or minimum of 2 and maximum of 5. So both are possible for now. We'll just leave it at that. You'll come to Vasu. If you come to Vasu, the median is 4, mode is also 4, and range is 3. So once again, it could be 4 and 1, or 2 and 5, the minimum and maximum ratings. We still don't know that. Let's try to come to Vaman. Here the range is 4. Range 4 can only mean one thing. The minimum is 1 and the maximum is 5 for sure. Minimum is 1, maximum is 5 for sure. More is also 5. That means 5 should occur for at least 2 times. Second highest rating should also be 5. Median is 4. That means it should be 4 for sure. And I know the sum for W is 17. Let's add them up. So 5 and 5, 10, 14 and 1, 15. So this should be 2, 17. So these are the ratings 1, 2, 4, 5, 5 that Vaman should get here. 1, 2, 4, 5, 5. If you come to Xavier, range is 4. Again means minimum is 1, maximum is 5 for sure. Mode is 5, means there are at least 2 5s. Median is 4. And yet again we can find this out because for Xavier the sum is 18. So 14 and 1, 15. So this should be 3. 1, 3, 4, 5, 5. So here I'll get 1, 3, 4, 5, 5. Let's look at Yusuf. So Yusuf, 1 and 4 both are modes, means 1 should occur for at least 2 times the minimum rating. 4 should occur for at least 2 times. Median is 3. The third variable should be 3. And 4 should occur for at least 2 times. So this is the only possibility. So here should get 1, 1, 3, 4, 4. You're only confused about these two. Can we say something about these? Mode is 2. So at least 2 times 2 will come. At least 2 times. Range is 3. So range is 3. So possibility could be 1 and 5. Sorry, 1 and 4. My mistake. Or 2 and 5. Now, can it be 2 and 5? If you take 2 and 5, the minima and maxima, this should also be 2 only. Now, this should be some value between 2 and 5. Add them up. You're already getting 11. So this will end up being 0. So 2 and 5 is not really possible. So it's only 1 and 4. I reject this. So 1 and 4 is done. And mode is 2. So it should at least occur 2 more times. Also observe, right now what is the sum? 1 plus 2 plus 4 is 7. I need sum of 11. I need 2 more. So that can only happen when it's like this. There's no other way. Because I want to also make 2 as a mode. So 1, 2, 2, 4. That's what I'll get here. Now if you come to this, modal rating is 4. So 4 should come for at least 2 times. Median is also 4. And range is 3. So range could mean it could be 2 and 5. So median is 4. Sum I should get is 19. Okay. If I take 2 and 4, 6 and 5, 11. So these sum should be, these two numbers sum should be 8. So it's possible by putting 4 and 4 because I want the mode to be 4. So here 2, 4, 4, 4, 5 is a possibility. Now can we have 1 and 4 for this? So if you have 1 and 4, median is also 4. So this will also be 4. So it's already 13 and 1, 12 and 1, 13. So this should be 6. Not possible. That's it. So these are the possible ways in which the ratings can be given. We figured that out. Okay, I think this might be solved. Let's go for the other conditions. The following is a partial information about the ratings of 1 and 5 awarded by the restaurants to the workers. R1 awarded a rating of 5 to Vaman. R1 awarded 5. As did R2 to X. R3 to W and X. And R5 to V. R5 to. So all these 5s are given. R1 awarded rating of 1 to U. As did R2 to W and Y. And R3 to Y. R3 to Y. Okay. That's what we have here. Now, if you look at R3, since 3 of the values are filled out of 5, sum is 11. So that means sum of these two should be 8. So some number here and some number here should give you 8. Now, how can we get 8 here? So we have a 5 here. So it could be a 5. But for that, for it to be 8, Sorry, we have a 5 here, but that 5 is already placed here. Sorry. So the only way is 4 and 4. So these two should be 4 and 4. That's the only way to get 8. There is no other way. Some number out of this and some number out of this should add up to 8. I say the only possibility that I see is 4 and 4. And the moment I place 4 here, please notice the other 3 should be 2's. I fix that. And here 5 and 2, 7 and 2, 9. So this is going to be 2 again, 11. 2, 4, 5. Okay, what is left? The other 2 will be 4's. So these 2 will be 4's for sure. Now, if you look at this sum here, right? The sum here, Vaman should get what? The remaining 2 values are Vaman. The remaining are 5 and 5. 5 and 5 are done. 1, 2 and 4. So somewhere I should get a 2 and somewhere I should get a 4. This I think was 14, right? This I think was 14. So 2 and 4 is 6. I should get a 8 here. Some of these 3 should be 8. So how can I make a 8 out of these 3 groups? Let's think. If I take we can't take a 5 anymore. So this can be 4 or 2. I'll just take one possibility. Let's just assume if this could be 4 or 2. Suppose this is 4. So if this is 4, some of these 2 should be 4. Overall, it should be 14. So some of these 2 should be 4. How can I do that? 1 and 3 seems to be possible. 1 and 3 seems to be possible. That's the only way. 3 and 1. 1 is not possible here. So 1 and 3. Something like this seems to be possible. So 4 looks possible here. Let's think about the other possibility, 2. So if I place a 2 here, so it's 8. So this should be 6. So some of these 2 should be 6. How do I get a 6 here? So the only possibility is 3 and 3. 3 and 3. That also seems, right now it seems possible. So going with this case didn't really help. Come to this, 2 and 5. So 7. So some of these 3 should be 10. So 7 and these 3 should be 10. What can I get here? 2 or 4. So suppose this is 2. Okay. Randomly I'm placing 2 here. So some of these 2 should be 8. So some of these 2 should be 8. How can I get 8 here? 4 and 4. Could be a possibility. 4 and 4. And if I place a 4 here instead of 2. Suppose if this is a 4, what would happen then? 2 and 5 is 7 and 4 is 11. So this should be 6. How can we get a 6 here? So we can place a 3 and 3. That also seems possible. That also seems possible. Okay, one second. Now, observe, just a minute. So here we have placed 5 and 5. They are done. So the other should be 1, 3 and 4 here in any order, right? And let's look at R1 once. Let's look at R1. 1, 4 and 5 is 10. So some of these 2 should be 7. So how can we get a 7 here? So the only possibility that I can think of is 3 and 4. So 3 here and 4 here. That's the only way, right? There's no other way. 3 here and 4 here, because or it could be 4 and 3 also, right? Or it could be 4 and 3 also. Or it could be 4 and 3 also. If I take one of the cases, one second. If I take 3 and 4, for example, if this is 3, so it's 13. So these 2 will be what? These 2 will be 1 and 4 in any order. If this is 4 and 6, so this is going to be 7, 3 and 4 in any order, right? One second. This is also, we are stuck here. Let's look at some questions. Can we answer a few? Let's see. How many individual ratings cannot be determined from the above information? No. So how many workers did R2 give a rating of 4? R2 gave a rating of 4 to nobody. We got that at least. This is 0 for sure. What rating did R1 give to X? I think we also got that. R1 gave to X. No, we didn't get that. Sorry. What is the median of the ratings given by R3 to the 5 workers? R3 median rating, if you'll see, is 4, right? 1, 4, 4, 5, 5. So median is going to be 4. Which among the following restaurants gave its median rating to exactly one of the workers? Exactly one of the workers. No, this will be difficult to answer unless we fill this up. Okay, so what we'll do is, again, we have some time. Let's go back to one of the previous sets. We were able to get 2 questions out of this. I think set number 1, we were able to write it to some extent. Let's continue with this. The maximum quoted price of a house in block XX is 24 lakhs. Now let's think, how can we get 24 lakhs? I hope we remember this. Quoted price was this formula. Base price can be 10 or 12. How can we get 24 lakhs? So for getting 24 lakhs, if I start with 10, suppose. So in block XX, I need to get 24. So if I put 10 here, all right. So then it could be something like this: 5 into 1 road adjacent to it, 15, and 3 into 3 neighbors. So 3 houses occupied, right? So if you want only 1 road, so this is one way in which we can get a 24 lakh case. Now can we get with 12? Now with 12, I don't think so it will be possible at all, right? If you take 12, you need 12 more. So with multiples of 3 and 5, it would be difficult to make 12, because the multiple of 3 I can get is only maximum 3. So this is the way in which we should get the 24 lakh in block XX. So that means one of the roads should be adjacent to the house that we are talking about. Which is that house? It cannot be C2. It cannot be A2 also, because I need 3 neighbors. So it can only be B2. So I write, this is the house that we are talking about. This is 24 lakhs. And it should have 3 adjacent houses occupied. So this is occupied, this is occupied, and this is also occupied. And this is of course vacant. So we have that, right? So we have 2 houses occupied here. Also, it says the minimum quoted price of a house in block YY is 15 lakhs, and one such house is in column E. We're talking about here. So how can we get 15? So base price is again 10 or 12. So let's try to make it with 10. So 10 plus 5 into adjacent road. So it could be 1, and 3 into no neighbors. So this way we can get 15 lakhs. And this will be for E2. This will be for E2. But for this to happen, E1 should be empty, D2 should be empty, vacant, and F2 should also be empty, vacant. But if you remember, there was one more condition I recall. Both the houses in column E are vacant. So these are both vacant. Okay. Each of column D and column F has at least one occupied house. Column D and column F has at least one occupied house. If these two are empty, suppose if I take the case for E2, then these two should be occupied, right? Then these two should be occupied. But now if you look at it, row 1 has 2 occupied houses only, 1 in each block. But right now we have 2 occupied houses in the one same block. That's not really possible, and hence this case that we have formed for E1 doesn't seem to be possible. So we'll just remove this. It's not really possible, and hence we should try for sorry, we tried for E2. E2 is not possible. We should try for E1. So E1, how do I make 15? So 5 into no adjacent road, 3 into 1 neighbor. 3 into 1 neighbor. So that means this anyway is vacant. One of these two should be occupied. One of these two should be occupied. Only one, exactly one out of those should be occupied. So this is the one with 15 lakhs. So this is vacant. And this is the one with 15 lakhs. Vacant. Okay. So one of them should be occupied. So suppose if this is occupied, so then this should not be occupied. But then from one of the conditions in column F and column D, we should have at least one occupied house, then this will be occupied. If this is occupied, this may be occupied, may not be occupied. Both are possible. There could be one more case here. What if this is occupied and this is not occupied? This could also happen. If this is occupied and this is not occupied, so then this may be occupied, may not be occupied. But if this is not occupied, this must be occupied. So we can have two cases here, because D1 could be occupied or F1 could be occupied. Now, let's try to see if this is negating any of the cases, negating any of the conditions. Now notice it was told to us that in block YY the minimum value should be 15 lakhs. It was said somewhere here, right? 15 lakhs. But if you take the red case, the case with red. So here, if you notice for F1, suppose for F1, what can be the red one? For F1, what will be the quoted price? The base can be 10 or 12 plus there is one neighbor exactly, right? But and there is no road adjacent to it. But also, if you notice, there can be no parking slot. There can be no parking slot because the parking slot comes here to make it 15. So this is the one with parking slot, and there's only one house with parking slot, right? That is E1. We get to know. But here, if you'll see, the value becomes 13. So that is lower than what was mentioned in the condition. So thus, the case in red will be rejected. So the one in black is what will accept finally. So F1 is occupied, D1 is empty, D2 is occupied, and F2 can be occupied or not occupied. So this is what we get to know. And here, since it was said that in row 1, in each of the block there is only one house occupied, these two will remain unoccupied. We get to know these details. Now let's quickly look at the questions. How many houses are vacant in block XX? Block XX, how many are vacant? 1, 2, 3. 3 houses. So thus the answer here, we can mark it as 3. Which of the following houses is definitely occupied? F2, D2, B1, A1. F2 maybe, may not be. D2 is definitely occupied. So my answer should be D2. But there's B1 and A1 also. Observe, B1 is also definitely occupied. So this was a problem question. So here we can have both as our answer. Right? B1 is also possible, D2 is also possible. Both are definitely occupied. Next, which of the following options best describe the number of vacant houses in row 2? Row 2, if you will see vacant houses, one vacant is definitely here. Second vacant is here. The third may be here. So 2 or 3. So either 2 or 3, I think that's the best option choice. What is the maximum possible quoted price for a vacant house in column E? This is 15. Now what can be the maximum price for this? Now this will be maximum when both are occupied. So this can be. So the base price will be 10 lakh only, no parking lot. One road plus 5 and 2 neighbors since I want to maximize. So it's going to be 15 and 6, 21 max. So 21 lakhs. So okay, we'll have to enter 21 here. Which house in block YY has a parking space? It was E1 if I'm not wrong, but let's come E1, yes. So E1 will be the third option choice. We have around 3 more minutes. I think that set was, we can maybe try for this set to complete it. Where did we, to what extent did we arrive? Let's try to complete this. 2 and 4, 6. So this should be 8. Now how can we make it 8? 1, 5 and 5 are gone here. 1, 5 and 5 are gone here. And here 5 and 5 are gone. And here 1 and 1 are gone. 3, 4, 4 will remain. Now of the remaining number, I need a 8. How do I do that? So one possibility could be 2, 3, 3. And if I place a 4 here, suppose if I place a 4 here, how do I make 8? 4, 1, 3. 4, 1, 3. 4, 1, 3. So both seem to be possible, right? 4, 1, 3, 2 or 4. But if I place a 2 here, suppose if I place a 2 here, so then this will be what? This will be 4. Right? This will be 4. If this is 2, I need to make it what? 2, 4. This should be 8. How do I make it 8? I said 3, 3. Okay. So if I place a 3 here, here I should get a 1 and 4, and here I should get 4 for sure. And if this is 4, 8, 9, 8, 13 and 15. So this should be 2. Not possible. There is an error here once again. So we'll just quickly go back. So I'll say this cannot be 2. I'll take this as 4. We'll just reverse it. So this 4 and this 2. Now this is 4. How do I make it 6? 4. Sorry. How do I make it 8? 8, 10, and this should be 4, sorry. 8, 10, this should be 4. How do I make it 4? It could be 1 and 3 only. 1 and 3, that's the only way. So this is 1 and 3, all right. So this is 5 and 4, 9, and I need to make this 8. So this is 1. So this will be 4 for sure. And if this is 4, 4 and 2 is 6, 6 and 5 is 11, 11 and 2 is 13. This will be 4. Do we have a 4 here? Yes, we do. And this will be 3. So 1, 4, 5, 3 is 8, 12, 13, 13, and this should be 4. So 4, 1, 1, 3, 4. 4, 1, 1, 3, 4 is absolutely perfect. This is how we could fix it. The table is done. We're almost done. How many individuals rating cannot be determined from the above? None of them. We were able to determine all of them. What rating did R1 give to X? R1 give to X. R1 give to X is 3. Just one more question is left. Which among the following restaurants gave its median rating to exactly one of the workers? R2, R3, R4, and R5. R2, R3, R4, R5. Median rating will be what? 2, but it's given to 2. R3 median will be 4. It's given to 2. R4 median will be 3. It's given to only 1. R4 should be the answer. That should be the answer. Okay, we are just done with the time. 40 minutes exactly, right? 40 minutes and some 3 seconds or something like that. Okay, anyways, so how many questions were we able to attempt? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, this set entirely. And I think the set 1 also, it was completely done. So 10 questions overall. Now, we can just verify our answers. I have the answer key out here. We can just do that, right? So question number 2 is put a star mark because there are 2 correct answers for that, if you remember, right? So this ideally should be given as marks for everyone, all right? So we attempted 10 questions. You can just check how many were right and wrong, all right? So 10 questions, assuming some 8 questions to be correct, all right? I'm assuming 2 have gone wrong, right? You can just check that. So 2 wrong would mean my score will be what? Around 22? 22 marks, all right? And if you are lucky, if you are able to do little better, then if all 10 are right, then my score will be around 30. Now, with this course, 22 or 30, the percentile will range from, so at 30 marks and at 22 marks, see again, these are estimated, roughly, not exact values. The 85th percentile was achieved somewhere around 18, 19 marks. 95th percentile was achieved around 23, 24 marks. And 99th percentile was achieved around, I think, 28, 29 marks. Less than 30. So that means, so even with this score, I think we would be somewhere around 95. We would be somewhere around 95, right? 94, 95 percentile is what we can aim and easily clear the cutoff. See, this paper was tough. If you compare it with the yesterday's discussion, CAT 24 slot 2 discussion, this paper was tough, definitely, all right? Because the sets, as you saw, as we went into the set, it felt as if we are understanding it, but then too much information and too much to decode, and thus we had to maybe skip. We skipped 2 sets completely. And luckily we got the last one and the first one, which helped us improve our score. I hope we have followed this, all right? This is how we could attempt the paper, right? So on that note, I'll just end the session here. Thank you and all the very best.